Hi, I'm Mitch Seekins, the vocal coach. Welcome to the Sing Like a Pro interview series where you find out from the people who are at the top of their game what they did to get there and what they do to stay there. And of course, if you like this, please share and hit that subscribe button. I've got a lot more to come. I recently had the privilege to speak with the amazing Howard Benson, who is not only an overall producer, but has made a name as a great vocal producer as well. He's worked with people like My Chemical Romance, Daughtry, Kelly Clarkson, Rascal Flatts, Chris Cornell, Motorhead, Creed, Santana, Bon Jovi, Adam Lambert, Hailstrom, Hoobastank, Billy Talent, and of course my connection with him, 3 Days Grace. The stuff he has produced has sold more than 100 million albums and over 20 billion streams. He has not only been a producer and a musician, but was also an A&R consultant for Giant, Elektra, and Warner Brothers Records. All this work has garnered him multiple awards and nominations, including nominations for Producer of the Year in 2007 and 2008. He has a vast wealth of knowledge to share. And he also has a plugin suite that you can access. I'll leave a link below. So if you have a home setup and want an easy way to have your vocals pop, like in Howard's mixes, it's a one-button click. I highly recommend checking it out. Now, we did have a problem getting his camera to work, so I had to use a still pic of him. But that doesn't change any of the incredible information that he shared with me. Enjoy. The idea for the content is to actually just get like good quality information for people to know how to prepare for recording a record and all that stuff, you know?
Right.
That's what it's all about. You've done like a lot, an awful lot, you know, from, you know, because I mean, you started as a musician, right?
Well, I started as an engineer actually, and as my degree's in aerospace
Oh,
engineering.
yes, that's right.
That's where I started.
That's right, because you started as an engineer, but you were playing music through university. Is that right?
Yeah, I was doing kind of both, but I came out to LA to pretty much do both. I wasn't sure which one was going to work out. So I did work as an engineer for Garrett. Yeah, they make like airplane parts. My job was like wings and wing actuation systems and turbine blades and turbine engines and just that kind of thing. So, but that's what my degree was in college, was materials engineering, basically mostly aerospace stuff.
The musician thing was still happening all the way through university kind of thing.
Yeah. And, I mean, I was always in bands, you know, I was always playing in disco bands and just all kinds of bands, you know, like, I ended up sort of becoming the de facto arranger because I was the keyboard player. So you just end up doing the arrangements and coming up with the parts. And it's the vocal parts were not really something I spent that much time on. I mean, that was something that I learned as I was out here in LA about, you know, the importance of doing the vocal parts.
The vocal parts,
you know, and not saving them for the last second. So that was something that up until the hard knocks of trying to make it as a producer, you think everything's important, you know, and then you realize that none of it's important except the vocals. So, you know.
Yeah. I still think a lot of it's important because it has to complement the vocals.
Yeah.
You
know?
You
can have really great music and shitty vocals, and you're going to be screwed.
Oh, absolutely.
But if you have really, really great music, if you have music that's not that great, but the vocals are incredible, and the lyrics and the melody and the story is great, you can still make that work.
Absolutely, Absolutely. So, but if you got both,
well, that's what we strive for.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. When did you do the A&R stuff? Because you were doing A&R stuff for a while as well.
Yeah, I worked for Giant Records in the 80s or the 90s, and I worked for Elektra. After I started having hits with Warner Brothers, Elektra hired me to be a VP of A&R for them, which is basically just an A&R guy.
Right.
And, that sort of now dovetails into their label that I actually have with Neil Sanderson from 3 Days Grace.
From 3 Days Grace, right.
He's my partner.
Yeah.
And so it's like I wasn't that great of an A&R guy, honestly. I was sort of more of a producer type. But now, after producing so long, I pretty much have a good handle on the A&R part of it. It's
Yeah.
a different world though. The A&R part, it's not the way it was back then
Oh,
with
everything has
huge
changed.
deals.
Oh, yeah. Everything
Yeah,
has changed so much over the last, even just the last 10 years. The change is incredible, because
yeah,
like I never did the full on recording thing, but I toured myself for 37 years and performed for 37 years myself. But working with all the people that I do, I get to hear all, because I know the performance side, but I get to hear all the business side as well, and it's just
yeah.
completely
Everything
different.
is, but I think it's kind of cool now. I mean, maybe it's just because I've had enough hit records that I don't really sweat it out as much as I used to. But
Yeah,
as a creator, content provider, it's a lot easier because you have more of the control in your hands.
yeah.
You can't make things as huge as they used to, but I don't know. It's still the same business as it always was. You still have to make great music.
Yeah,
The rest of it usually takes care of itself. It's just that there's a lot more music
there's a
than there
lot.
ever
Yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah.
You
It's
know,
because all those creators have the ability to just kind of put it online whenever they
that's
want.
right. Yeah,
And it's so much easier with all the technology there to actually make it at home without having to, do the crappy little demos and get somebody behind them to go in to do the real good demos, to take it to a record company, to get signed, to have it go into the machine. Now it's just, well, I'm in my bedroom. The quality is fantastic. I'm just going to stick it up on YouTube and see what happens.
yeah, yeah. In fact, that's what Universal just came out with, something, Universal Music, that they don't even want you to release music unless you put it on TikTok to see the reactions. So they're going to let the public A&R it. Yeah, I can see why they're doing it though.
Oh, absolutely. I can see why they're doing it, but that's going to be, I don't know how that's going to work. We'll just have to see.
Well, some of my artists do that already. So
No kidding,
they're
eh?
ahead of the game. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we find an artist that he put up all 12 of his demos online to see which ones reacted,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah,
and that's how we're going to pick the songs,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. I work with a guy out of LA, Ali Gotti, who does a lot of that as well. Like he'll put up ideas on TikTok and go, "Hey, do you want to hear me develop this even more?" And
Right.
get the reaction, and then yeah, it's the same kind of thing, I guess. Not sure how much of that actually goes into the decision of, okay, we're gonna work on this and see where it goes. I don't know. I'd have to ask him, I guess, and find out.
Yeah.
See
Yeah.
where it is. So over your career, I mean, my God, the people you've worked with, like My Chemical Romance, Daughtry, Kelly Clarkson, Rascal Flatts, Chris Cornell, Motorhead, Creed, Santana, Bon Jovi, Adam Lambert. That's pretty cool. Hailstrom, Hoobastank, Billy Talent, 3 Days Grace, guys.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, the purpose of this all is to really, get the information on how to do this for, particularly the younger people coming up, in terms of like, how do you prepare for a record? What do you do? And I mean, you've been working with, from rock to pop to country to gospel to all kinds of different styles within your career as well. So your knowledge is going to be great. So you've been doing this since I read on your site, like since '86 or something like that, right?
That was the first one. Yeah. That was like the first time I got a production credit. It was
Right.
that, you know, but it was like a punk band. It was basically anybody who would hire me, essentially.
Well, just like
So
all the rest of us, you got to start
yeah,
someplace, you know.
yeah.
And so was it, did you find it was kind of a natural progression from not only from the musicianship but from the materials engineering, because you had that mechanical brain to go into a studio and go, okay, this is what we can do to tweak this sound to make it good, all that kind of thing. Did you find that was a natural step?
I think I had to learn to think more with my heart than my head.
Yep.
I had to unlearn how to be
An engineer.
An engineer, yeah. But I
Yeah.
still had that in me.
Yeah.
So when I think my biggest sort of break was when the computer started becoming usable, and I was with the Pro Tools way before anybody, like way, way before 1996,
Yeah.
which is has to be about 5, 7 years before it became really
The industry
something that
standard.
people
Yeah. Yeah.
used.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just really like got into the fact that whatever was I was hearing, I could now make it happen,
Right.
as opposed to spending all this money in the studio. I could do it at home, and it was at the time so
Yeah.
nothing people thought about. So that's where the engineering came in. But yeah, I had to unlearn. I had to like start going more with my heart about things. Sorry, I either have a cold or I have COVID. I'm not sure which one it is. So I'm just hoping it's not COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to kind of like, feel things, and uh, it served me really good to start lightening up in the studio
Yeah.
about things and letting go and delegating to people more. And so,
Right.
like, I think a crucial step too is working with a guy named Keith Olson, who was probably my biggest mentor. He produced like the Scorpions, and he did White Snake, and he did Fleetwood Mac, and he did he's an old school guy back. I mean, when I met him, he wasn't old school, but
Yeah.
he just taught me how to comp vocals and how to think about vocals, and just like it was just more of the sessions that we were doing more vocal centric than they were before. And
Right.
I started to I knew I was pretty good at vocals, but I didn't really realize it would become a brand thing. And I think a lot of it had to do with the computer. I was, again, being first on the computer, being able to use auto tune, being able to use pitch correction, all
Right.
kinds of effects. A lot of guys weren't doing that back then. Like
Right.
the POD record I did, the first one I did was full of vocal effects, and the singer sounded way better than he normally sounds.
Yeah.
So I started getting a brand of being a good vocal producer, and I think I just ran with it. It was like, well, that's working, and I'm having hits. And I didn't have any hits up until then. I mean, honestly, up until that moment, I had sold maybe 60,000 albums. Now I sold about 60 million albums.
Yeah.
But up until that point, I hadn't sold any until I started rethinking my process. And,
Right.
I went a long time without selling records, so it was kind of painful. Like it was hard to see success. Like I had to think of alternatives to do with my life and all that.
Yeah.
But once I had a huge record, it's kind of like a lot of things happened at once. The vocal thing happened, the computer thing was happening. I actually hired a lot of Canadians to be my assistants.
Yeah.
Mike Plotnikoff from Little Mountain Studios
Yeah.
in Vancouver became my primary engineer. I worked with Randy Staub on some stuff. My Pro Tools editor was from Canada. My guitar tech, Mark Van Gool, was from Canada. And I really liked the sound of Bruce Fairbairn's records.
Yeah.
And I would look to those Bon Jovi records and things like that for the vocal production.
Yeah.
I got to work with Desmond Child and Diane Warren and some great songwriters. I came about it, the right way. Like I learned from really good people, and I hired really good people.
Right.
Like I'm not really good at miking things. Like I could care less about it.
Right.
I don't know, like a drum mic, pick one,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as long as it sounds good.
Yeah.
So like I delegate a lot of that stuff.
Right.
And I think that also came from my engineering background, just looking at how we would make airplanes. Like we didn't make the whole airplane. We just made one part of the airplane, and the rest of it we delegated to other companies to do. And we were part of that. We made the wings, the slat systems on the wings and all that. So there's a lot of things that kind of came together.
Yeah.
And everybody makes records differently, like Rick
Yeah.
Rubin makes them his way, and Rob makes them his way. Gavin Brown makes them his way.
Yeah.
This is how I make them,
Yeah.
So I don't think there's
they
a
all work.
way.
Yeah.
They all
And
work. As long as the song is great. It's a song and the vibe. To me, again, my worldview is song and vocals.
Yeah.
I think that's why 3 Days Grace and me work really well together, is that they think the same exact way.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But other bands I work with, they don't think that way anymore. It's weird. Like some of the bands I've worked with in the past, it's like I stop working with them and they start working with engineers who don't want to be told what to do. So
Yeah.
they want to work with people that are yes men, and their records start going like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but it's hard. You want to be in control of your own art. I get it. You know,
Yeah,
so
I know. And it is learning, that being creative is great, but 3 or 4 brains is always better than just one. I mean, yes, there's
it it,
anomalies, you
it
know.
depends
Of course,
how
it does
you know.
depend, but adding, what you do and allowing and it's the same with Gavin, like allowing them to kind of get your fingers into the mix and go, okay, but if we do this, this will be better, and actually making the product better.
Yeah.
It is that
Well, it's
learning
interesting.
as an,
Everybody's concept of that is different. Like some
of
artists
course,
don't like working with me because they think that I'm a sellout hit producer that sells it out to make hits, and they're right. I am. I don't care about that. That's not, if you don't hire me unless you want hits. Like
well,
I don't
that's
care
it.
about the rest of this.
Yeah.
I just don't.
And
You know.
I never really got into the music industry to starve.
Yeah.
That's not what I did. Hits would
But
be
you need
great,
to be upfront. You got to be upfront with the artist though before you start the project.
of
Like
course.
I always say to them, like if you want to make critically acclaimed records that are like amazing, that your friends love and that get great press, then don't work with me. Not interested. You
Yeah,
know, I
yeah,
want to make, like, you should be bringing all this intensity and integrity already.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's not my job. That's your
yeah,
job.
yeah.
My job is to take what you've got and make it into commercially
Viable.
palatable
Yeah,
stuff,
viable. Yeah,
which, you know, if you got all the other stuff, then why not work with someone like me if you want to get that little extra that makes it a hit record,
that's
Because
right.
really there could be a lot of differences between hits and stiffs,
Yeah,
or little differences.
or
I mean,
very little
because
differences too. Yeah,
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 I mean, it's every project's unique like that,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah. Working with so many different vocalists over the years, have you noticed a difference between the singers who have studied and those who have not? Like, if
yeah,
you,
the good ones don't give me a lot of shit. The good ones come in, sing and leave.
right?
Seriously.
Yeah,
They don't ask about the headphone mix. They're ready to go. They come in, it's in their head. 5 to 10 takes. I come up with the harmonies. They go through the whole thing. We maybe will punch in line after line. Um, and if they want auto tune, I'll throw it on their vocal. But I don't have to talk them into an emotion. They've got that. What I have to do is talk them into giving me the most of that. Like, don't like sell it to me. Like
yeah,
I never talk about pitch and timing ever,
right.
ever, never
Yeah,
comes out. Like we never discuss any of that.
right,
What we discuss is like, are you believing what you're saying?
right.
And that's what I want. But like the singers that come in that are, complaining about everything, and they, don't like the headphone mix, they can't get this, they can't get that. And, I don't know, he does protest too much.
Yeah,
So, um, you should be pretty warm. That's the one thing you should do, is be warmed up before you get there.
yeah,
If you have to warm up in the vocal booth, you've just kind of like screwed up the session,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah.
So
I've,
I
I've
encourage people warm
people do.
up.
Yeah, I've been in your studio virtually,
Oh,
helping Matt warm up from 3 Days Grace.
yeah. Yeah.
For
Matt's always prepared.
yeah, the last 2 records, like before every vocal session, he does like his time with me. I don't know if he ever told you that, but yeah, he
Oh,
would.
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. That was such a bizarre record because we were so far away from each other. It was very hard to do it. We were just Zoom the whole time,
yeah, but
most of it.
I think
Not the second part.
the first one he was at your house, your place.
The first record we were, yeah.
Yeah,
This record, half of it was done, or I don't know. I don't even remember actually what we did, but I think the first 5 songs were done in Toronto, and I was here.
yeah,
Then the second 5 were done here, I think. So
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. Because a lot of singers will also have like a ton of natural talent, like natural ability. When you work with a singer, do you ever ask if they've studied voice or not, or is it just let's just go and?
No, I always ask them if they're taking vocal lessons right now, though.
Oh, good.
I was,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
because some of them, if they don't have a warm up tape or they don't have a warm up process, then I usually send them to a guy that I use in town here named Mark Rink,
Yeah.
who I've been using for a long time,
Yeah.
and he can get them in right away and just turn them around
Yeah.
for me. And
Yeah.
it's just basic stuff, the basic warm-ups.
Yeah.
You know, the In Flames guy always goes to him before every single vocal session. So I like it when a singer has a vocal coach they like, you know, and it's, I personally feel the vocal coach should go on the road with them. I don't know why they have guitar techs and drum techs. I think that's a kind of a waste of money.
Some of them do. Some of them do. Bieber, I think, has his on the road with him, or he used to anyway. Ali's been talking to me. I can't go on the road with.
Yeah, I understand.
I got little kids. You know.
Yeah.
And
well, they should have some way to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Somebody's talking to them through this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I work with people while they're on the road. A lot of time because I set my guys up so well that they have their workout files and all that sort of thing. I only really hear from them when they're sick, and then because there's a different way to warm up and what have you, and I take them through that, get them through the show or the series of shows, you know, that kind of thing. Some of the singers, you know, like I was talking, you know, with natural talent and stuff. Have you noticed a difference, like the people that don't have the coaches or haven't done the studying, the difference in like endurance or control?
No, I don't really notice that. I think it's the ones that it's interesting. The ones that have been around a while, that have worn up their voices, they're the ones who I think need the vocal coaching the most. Yeah. Because they've been on the road a lot and they've trashed their voices and they need help with not getting just getting nodes and all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
The newer singers, like the 20-year-old, 21-year-old, it doesn't fucking matter. They are so strong at that point. They're just like, you know, loose cannons. Yeah. And in some ways they're fun to produce, but you have more, you don't really need a vocal coach for them as much because they are strong and they've got youth on their side. I find it's the ones that have been touring a lot that need the vocal coaches.
Yeah. Yeah, you know? The young ones I like working because it is kind of fresh, like you said. It's strong, you know. And if I can establish good habits at the beginning, the voice only grows with age, and lasts so much longer, you know. And they don't run into and they don't run into the problems. Which a lot of the other guys do. And, you know, so much of what I do, that the psychological damage that happens when a vocalist's voice starts to decline, it's so hard on your head, man, you know. Right. But, you know, in terms of the studio, the young guys, like you said, they got lots of
they have all this energy.
Yeah,
they just go for it. And sometimes that's what you really want them to do. They don't have to be perfect or any of that stuff. They just want to get emotion out of them. Yeah. You know, I find that a couple times that vocal coaches have actually screwed it up for me because they've done the wrong thing with the singer. They've taken away what was special about them and smoothed it out. And like, I don't want that sometimes. I mean, I'd rather have you go to the if you're young, go to the vocal coach after you sing me. Like, I want to capture what got you there, got you here.
Now, what got you?
And so, like, I remember there was one famous vocal coach in town. I won't name him.
Yeah.
But everybody would come back from him and just be super, I don't know, trying to sing from their diaphragm all the time, and that's not what got them signed. Unfortunately, that's not what got them signed. And it's not like I can't have that. It's not my problem. That part of it, you know, like I got to capture what made them special. Now, after they're out of here, that's something they can do later. You know, they can learn to sing what we did in the studio, but properly. You know, I find it a lot of times this shit we do here becomes kind of like a cover song to singers. They'll learn this song from here as if somebody else was singing it, and copy it. But sing it better, like live. They will sing it without all the thrashiness and all the craziness. And they'll be able to survive a live show. Yeah. But I don't want them doing that when they show up here. Like, that takes out I want that intensity. Yeah. But I think the older singers need it more. The older singer there's so many singers I worked with that 10 years later, their voices just aren't what they are. You could hear the road wear. Yeah. They can't hit the notes. Their notes are at least I mean, some of my guy singers could hit like A's and stuff. Now they can't hit above like a F sharp, and that's a pretty big drop. You know?
That's a huge drop. Yeah,
Yeah,
I deal with damaged voices a lot, and it's kind of what I'm known for up here is dealing with damaged voices. But the other thing is to, when people come to me, the last thing I'm going to do is change a voice that has sold, a couple million records already.
right,
That I'm not going to change that.
right.
And I do know that, I know exactly what you're saying in terms of there's some vocal coaches that will smooth out the rough edges, and that's their calling card.
Right.
You need that intact,
The best singer I ever worked with was probably Kelly Clarkson. The one thing I liked about her is that she always had this energy, but she did her warm-ups between every take. And I encouraged my artists to do that. Like that one warm-up where you do the blubber with your mouth.
The lip trills. Yeah.
Yeah. Between every take. And it always kept her voice open.
Yeah.
And I just thought and she never lost her character or any of that. She was really aware of what she was doing. Yeah. Now that's a person that came in, sang and left.
Yeah.
Like there was no fuss, no muss. Totally prepared.
Yeah.
Every take was great and you just were looking for the special ones.
Yeah.
That's a total pro.
Yeah. And probably studied for a majority of her life. I'm imagining. Yeah. I have no idea. I have no idea. What was it like working with Adam Lambert? Did you do vocals with him or?
Yeah. He was very, very insecure about himself in the studio.
Was he?
He had a posse of people there telling him he was great all the time. So this was way in the very beginning though. I didn't really work with him that much, but he was sort of like it wasn't really my cup of tea because honestly the label didn't know what kind of record to make. He didn't know what kind of record to make. Nobody knew what they were. It was right out of American Idol, and like I've done a lot of American Idols, and like maybe 2 out of 10 of them walk in the studio and know what they want to do. The rest are just like, it's not their fault.
No, not at all.
It's just that they come from a game show. They got to make a record almost immediately.
I know.
And
I know.
If their whole life is here it is. They've been waiting their whole life for this. So.
And so many of them, from that format, okay, they can sing, but they haven't taken the time to actually develop as an artist, to actually know, like you said, actually know what it is you're doing. What are you going to do? Is it going to be a rock record? Are you going to be a rock singer? Are you going to be a pop singer?
That was the issue with him. He didn't know to make a dance record, or they brought me in to make the rock record, and then he had other producers making dance music with him. And I think he ended up right where he should have ended up, which is being the lead singer of Queen.
It's a great gig for him. It's a great
gig for him.
Yeah, it's stylistically right up his alley. He's a great showman. He's flashy,
exactly,
and works great. Where
Daughtry came in, Daughtry knew exactly who he was.
Right.
Exactly. Like we didn't have to even like that wasn't part of the process. There was just finding great songs for him.
Right.
That was really.
Were you there at the beginning or at the beginning? Wow. Even at the beginning, he knew exactly who he was, and
I did his first 3 albums. Actually.
Oh, nice. Any special advice for anybody coming, wanting to get into the business as a vocalist? Any advice that you off the top of your head that you could
make sure you pick the right material to sing?
Right.
I mean, like if you pick shitty material, I don't care how good a singer you are, people just are not going to like you. So I mean, one of the great things about the old school singers like the Tony Bennett's and the Sinatras, they always had the right material, and they would do cover songs if they had to. They would do whatever was hits. Yeah. Because that's, they already got halfway there because the song was great. Yeah. If you're a great singer and you can't write songs, admit it. So there's nothing wrong with that. Plenty of singers are great interpreters. Yeah. In some ways, that's actually a better place to be if you want longevity, because you'll constantly keep doing great material all the time. Yeah. You can keep going and have other people write songs for you. But if you keep writing songs and you're not a great, there's very few Bruce Springsteens out there.
Tell me about
You
it.
know,
I know. Yeah.
even Rod Stewart. Rod Stewart, look how long his career is. He does cover songs now.
I don't know if he was really that involved in the writing stuff. He was just, it was just such a great voice.
I think
Yeah.
he wrote Maggie May. I think
Oh,
he
did he
wrote
write Maggie
the
May?
songs. Yeah,
I'm not
yeah, he was a good
certain.
writer back then.
Yeah.
But he got smart. You
Yeah.
know, he went for that. And 3 Days Grace is like that. 3 Days Grace always brings in outside writers
Yeah.
to write, like Gavin, for example.
Yeah.
You know, Gavin's
Yeah.
always writing with them. So
Yeah.
it's you know, nobody cares about where the songs. They really don't. The average public, nobody gives a shit. You know,
No.
but if
As
you're
long
caught singing shitty, people are going to think you can't sing.
Well, that's it.
You know?
Whether you can sing or not, if it's crappy songs, it's crappy songs.
That's right.
Nobody's going to pay
That's right.
any kind of attention. Songwriting itself takes, it takes practice. It takes, you have to put your time in. And that's why the guys coming in from, the game shows, like you said, they haven't necessarily done all that work. They just got chosen out of a cattle call and away they go,
Well, I think Chris was, he was in a band a lot. He did a lot of work, Chris Daughtry. He was always playing in bands in North Carolina, and
Right.
he was ready to go. That's why he did so well.
Yeah.
But some of the singers, I mean, they all, to get to that point where you come in the top 5 of that show, you got to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And you had to study pretty well.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you're cut out to be a star, at all. In fact, when's the last time that's even happened?
Yeah.
On these game shows? I don't think ever.
I don't think so either.
Not the last 10 years.
Yeah. I actually don't follow them that much because I'm too busy taking care of the guys who are actually doing it on the road,
Right.
working it, not doing the game show thing. This is for the tech guys. Have you found that you have like a favorite mic that you can use? I know every voice is different, and a lot of, most of the time, like you want to find that mic for that voice. Is there a favorite mic that you've run across that has been a fairly good catch-all for a lot of different voices and styles?
Yeah, I've been using the Sony C800 for 15 years.
Yeah.
That's all I use. And once in a while, I'll use the SM7 for things.
Yeah.
But the C800 is really probably 99% of it.
Yeah. Yeah. When I'm Ali Gotti, I think, just bought one of those just for his home studio because his voice sounds so good on it. It is a beautiful sounding mic.
Yeah,
it's a
hard to find.
mic. Yeah, they are very hard to find and very expensive, but very hard to find. He lucked out. He was able to get one in 4 or 5 weeks or something like that. Totally lucked out. I know that you've got you've teamed up with a developer and you've got kind of a vocal suite plug-in type of thing. I'll do YouTube shout outs, just kind of doing some stuff and getting people to go check it out because I checked it out and it'd be very cool. Make things nice and simple, if you've got a basic rig at home and just.
Well, it's all the sounds I use. I mean, I didn't hide anything. I just gave everybody the compression and the delays, and it's sort of Joey Stir just makes it. And it's just compressor, delay, reverb, left and right spreading stuff, and a vocal multiplier, which we actually are going to put a separate module out with that.
Right.
And just some limiting and things like that. It's nothing that crazy, but the presets are great. And it's really been a big hit for me, that more than the other plugins I've put out.
Yeah.
People really like it. It's simple. You just put it up, you put it on the HP1 and it sounds amazing. So
exactly.
That's how I am about things. I use presets. I never dial anything in.
Yeah. It would be real handy to just go press a button and there's a great sound. You don't have to fiddle with knobs and all the rest of that, Yeah.
So, you want to be a creative person, not a tech person.
Correct.
At this point,
Correct. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
Okay. Well, it was cool, man. And say hi to Matt for me.
I certainly will.
My voice is an octave lower right now than it usually is.
Yeah.
So it's,
that's and again, thanks for doing it. Even though you might be sick, hopefully it's not COVID.
Right.
But it's whatever. It's coming for us all, I think, eventually. Hopefully it's just a week.
Exactly what I think. Who cares anymore?
I know. Well, thanks so much, man. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.